Hello? I guess we're good now. We've started recording. My name is Daniela. Thank you for joining me. Today I have a really good friend of mine, Jamie Smale. I don't know if I said that correctly, but I did my best.
Close enough.
Okay, Jamie and I have amazing conversations all the time. So it's a great idea for us to start recording them because it just goes everywhere. Between the two of us, we come up with a lot of good ideas and concepts we go into. But because we're in the holiday season, it can be a very challenging and confusing time. And Jamie, I think, is amazing. And the reason why he's amazing on many levels, but he's into NLP healing. And the reason why I'm not just promoting my friend and saying, wow, he's really awesome. Jamie actually helped me through some trauma. I think it was in October. And something that I've carried around 30 years. So 30 years of trauma that I thought that I had handled and I was wrong. And when it reared its ugly head, within maybe 15 minutes, Jamie was able to help me successfully clear that energy. So you know what I'm talking about, right, Jamie?
Yeah, I remember. I
Now,
do.
as close friends as we are, I was so in not a good place that I couldn't even connect with him. And he just, meaning I didn't want to speak with him. I just was in a really dark place. And he asked me to give him 10, 15 minutes to at least introduce me to this healing, not even anticipating that he'd be able to help me to clear that blockage or that memory. But I'm going to give you the floor now to explain what you do, because that was so amazingly powerful and you helped shift my life. Go, James.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to go through, but I'll see how this goes. So basically, when we have a traumatic past, we have a memory of it and we revisit that memory. And what happens is we recall that memory, like perhaps a movie or some type of replay in our minds, and that's painful because we have a painful and negative association with that memory, right?
Absolutely.
So what we need to do is we need to change our perception of that event that took place. Okay, so an event that we associate negative feelings with, we need to alter that event, because it's a memory, it's intangible, it's just something that we remember. It's not real anymore. It happened, but we can alter the way that it happened. Okay, it's all to do with perception. We can change our perception. So you see what I mean?
Well, I wanted to add, I'm sure I don't want to put words in other people's mouths, but I'm sure this is pretty true of everyone. When I go back down memory lane, right? Because it's funny, we choose our thoughts, but until you become conscious and aware of what you're doing, people can spiral down that wormhole of going back. Like, we can choose it, but we have a tendency to go back to that traumatic event. And the feelings, at least for me, were just as fresh, just as real, as if you're watching a movie or whatever, right? You're going through this memory. But it's not any less painful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And what happens is the more we repeat it and the more that we trigger an emotional state that associates with that replaying of that memory, the more embedded it becomes. It's like a neuro reaction, and it becomes habitual. It becomes a pattern that repeats, and then of course it becomes harder to break. So that's what's happening there.
Because I felt it became embedded in my mind. Like, just think of soft tissue and a little pebble got right in there. So, and what would happen is if something triggered it, for me, it would be something violating where I don't feel safe. It would trigger all that stuff to start coming out and replaying in my mind. And depending on how traumatic the fresh experience was, that's where you found me, because it was so traumatic for me, the fresh experience, that it really, I didn't realize those I thought I had healed that stuff, and that trauma, it all came back at me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah,
Probably
yes. A lot
people.
of people are struggling with that. A lot of people, aren't they? And yeah, you see, like the brain, like the brain makes associations, and there's been multiple studies to prove this. Um, you know, like you know, the famous Pavlov's dogs. If I'm pronouncing that
You all
person Pavlov, yeah, yeah. So he was able to cause the dogs to salivate, you know, by using what's called an anchor. And we're going to talk more about anchors in just a little while as we talk about how we can like break these old sort of thought patterns. But what he would do was he would sound a bell every time he fed them, and then he was able to not feed them but sound the bell, and they would like be reacting as if they were about to eat some food. You know, they'd be salivating, you know. So yeah, it's the same in our lives. What happens is, you know, there's certain triggers, right? And these triggers can just induce a reaction in us, a physical reaction or an emotional reaction. And you know, because it's been repeated over and over again, and we allow it, you know. So that's what's happening there.
thing. You use the word allow it, but I think some of us also perpetuate it, like we're the active ones, because again, if we choose to focus our thoughts on negative experiences, things that make us sad, right? Or even angry. Some people will think about angry situations, and we are perpetuating, but we're choosing to do that. There are times like, I love what you do to remove trauma, but there's also personal responsibility. Do you
Yeah.
agree with that? Like that we need to, like, some people, they told me, even if their past memories make them sad, make them feel rejected, they didn't, some people choose not to heal them because they've told me it's familiar.
Oh
It
yeah, absolutely.
actually feels good
Yeah.
to some people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's where self-sabotage can come in as well. You know, when maybe things are getting a little bit better and you feel as though you're coming out the other side, you'll self-sabotage because you want that familiarity, and you know, that go back into that comfort zone, what you know. So
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, definitely that is a thing. Yeah. And you know, also as well, oftentimes people think, well, you know what, I'm going to do some better self-talk, and I'm just going to like use some positive affirmations, and then it doesn't work, and people wonder, well, why isn't this working? It's because it's not the words are just noise. There needs to be an emotional
Exactly.
association with those words. Yeah, because it's the emotion that carries that the energy that will bring the change, not the words. Yeah. Yeah, so you know, you can say, oh yeah, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, and you know, or whatever. Or some people make the mistake of using negative language in there, because this is how we've got to really understand the workings of the human brain, right? Is that it's not like conversational, right? Our subconscious mind, you cannot have a conversation with your subconscious mind in the way that you and I are having a conversation, because it doesn't understand that language. It only understands commands. The brain is more like a computer
Right.
than it is, you know, like on a conscious level where we would converse, right? So you can't like reason with your mind, you can't converse with your mind, with your subconscious mind, right? It only accepts commands, right? So if you say something like, I will not be stressed, right?
Oh,
That's
but
using,
focusing on, even though the word not is in there, but you still got the stress instead of saying, I am peaceful. Like, I
yeah,
think the
exactly.
words do matter, but you have to have the emotion. And to
Absolutely.
me,
Yeah, you have the right words and the right emotion. Simple words, simple and short. Absolutely. And yeah, and you've got to feel it and mean it.
because that's what they say, like, if you want to eat healthier, what is not, from what I've understood with this, it's not saying I hate chocolate cake, because
Mhm.
you really actually deep inside you love chocolate cake.
Yeah.
Heart goes pitter patter a little bit, and just by saying chocolate cake, patter patter patter, right? So that's not going to be effective, because you're lying. Like the combination, because the emotion, I'm not saying lying in words, but the emotion is the real language. And you hear that and you get, oh, a little bit happy. So that's not going to work for you. But what may be more of an impact is saying, I love eating healthy foods, would probably be more effective. Like, it makes me feel good to eat healthy foods, as opposed to I hate chocolate cake, which it's not going to work. That's like me saying I hate potatoes. Well, that's just not true. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. And what we need to do, if we really want to harness this power, all right, is whilst we're saying what we do love and we're affirming, we're not using negative language, we're not lying, but when we're affirming something that we do want or that we do like, what we need to do is we need to recall a memory of when we had that good experience. Okay, so for example, let's say that, you know, if anyone's listening, any of your listeners, they've had a traumatic time. Well, these are the steps that you need to take. So first of all, let's not dwell on it. Let's just turn our attention away from it. I want everyone to recall a time when they felt euphoric, empowered, they felt at their peak, they were like completely empowered and happy. Right, so we recall a time, because we've all got times in our lives. It's pretty sad if we haven't, but from the day you were born till now, like, we've all had good days or good times or wonderful experiences, and those wonderful times that we experience has put us in an empowered emotional state, where we just feel invincible, and, you know, nothing can knock us down. You know, we just feel great. Yeah, so everyone's had those. So yeah, sorry, what were we going to say?
Like in that flow where everything falls into place, things easily come. It's like the poly elixir juice, you know what I mean? Like, you got everything going your way. You can't misstep.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And success breeds more success. You know, sometimes when we're having a good day, it just keeps on coming, you know, just good. You know, whereas if we get out of bed and we stub our toe and we get into a bad emotional state because we're really pissed off that we've just stubbed our toe and it's painful, it's horrible. And then what happens? Like, you're late for work and like you spill your coffee and like one thing after another. It's just all about, it's just a knock-on effect. Yeah. But what happens is, when we can recall a time when we felt empowered, emotionally empowered, and as a result of that emotional empowerment, we attract good things in the day to come our way, right? What happens is, when that happens, if we can recall that, and then we can create an anchor, right? So what we need to, this is where the whole Pavlov thing comes into, you know, going back to that. Okay, so we need to create an association with that memory, but it's not only a memory, we have to relive it, right? So we have to relive it, we have to imagine it and recall it and play that movie in our minds to the point that an emotional response is triggered. Because, you know, like, Daniela, when you sit and you think about maybe a loved one, like maybe a good time you had, a good day you had with a loved one who's no longer with you, it makes you tingle and it gives you a warm glow in your heart and you feel good about it and it feels really nice, right? So like, that's an emotional response to that memory. Okay, so if you were able to create a way by which you can,
I think what you're talking about is harnessing it.
harnessing it.
Like,
Yeah. So imagine if you could conjure that. Yeah, sorry.
You want to use that energy of a good memory. You want to use happiness, the joy. And so I think what you mean is harness it. Take that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, take it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that you can conjure it anytime you want, on demand. Right? Which sounds far-fetched, but it's possible with practice. Yeah. So what you do is, like, you know, everyone's got their own method, everyone's got their own technique, and it doesn't really matter what you do, right? So some people, they squeeze their finger and thumb, right? So right at the height, you really, like, you know, you really get that emotional state going, that euphoric state, you know, from your memory.
Mhm.
And then when you feel that it's like at its height and it's really vivid, right? And it maybe takes some practice to be able to, get this working. You can't have distractions around you. You need to sit down quietly and really practice this. And once it's really good, some people, they squeeze their finger and thumb together, right? And then because you're setting your anchor, right? So that in the future, if you feel that you need to recall that emotional state to empower you, you can use that anchor, and it will that's emotional state will come upon you, right? Because you've created a new neuro association, right? Neuropath or whatever, right? So like, it could be that you have a crystal in your pocket, and that's your anchor. You're gonna hold it and you're gonna squeeze it. That's what I like to do if I have it on me. Anthony Robbins, I mean, I think he did this. He used to tap his chest, right? So if he needed, like, if he was on stage and he needed to get empowered, like, he would just do this, right? On his, I don't know if the camera can see me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Anything, like, it doesn't matter what it is, but it needs to be the same thing every time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're anchoring, what you're talking about is anchoring a positive emotional memory, like, and to grab those emotions, which is by doing that, it's like grabbing something, because as you raise your vibration, the way that you feel into a happier state, it's like grabbing something from the quantum realm as well, because you're going to be attracting more and more positive things from the quantum realm. And I love this because
Yeah.
when you talk about grabbing a crystal or whatever the gesture is, it could even be like this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You could do this. Absolutely.
Thing is just like I'm going to be more mindful, like I want to create things in my life, stuff like that. As you
Mm.
do that, it's also taking that memory, harnessing it, bringing more things to you. But what I love is this action, whatever the action is isn't that also creating like a synapse in your brain, right? A new pathway. So instead of focusing, like your brain always does something. Just say if I always grab my water bottle with my left hand, simply by doing it with my right hand is reprogramming my brain. Like there's a
Yeah.
right. So what is it? Neural pathways. So
Yeah.
what I think what you're saying also, like on a scientific level, is by that pressure point is you're creating a new neural pathway that you're attributing emotions with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything triggers emotions. I mean, you put on a song, you watch a sad movie, like we go about our day every day, right? And sometimes like we could be in a particular mood or a particular emotional state, right? And we wonder why. Well, something somewhere in your day has triggered it. You may not be aware of it, but it has, you know? I
Mhm.
mean, maybe you're driving in your car and a song comes on, and that song has been playing at some time in your past when you were really feeling really shitty, right? And
That
now that song has come on.
analogy,
Sorry.
perfect analogy.
Yeah.
The song in a car, absolutely. Because how many of us have not had that happen where you're recovering at some point in your life from a breakup, and there's a particular song that's popular right at that time, and then years
Mm.
later, um, till this
Yeah.
day, there's a song that what I can't hear it without thinking of the death of a friend of mine when I was 18. I
Mm. Mm.
cannot hear that song. Like I'll change and I liked it until he died, but he liked the song, and when he died, it was a hit song, and
Yeah.
I can't bear to listen to that song. So
Oh, wow. That's a perfect example. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what happens. And, I mean, for me, I remember when my son was born in the hospital, they had the music on the tannoy system. And it was like, there was this song that came on right at the time when my son was being born. So my emotions were like off the charts because, like, my son was being born. It was like, crazy mix of emotions. And like whenever that song comes on now, it always makes me cry because I
aw,
have that, yeah, because such strong, powerful emotion is associated with that song. So that song has become a trigger. Yeah. And
but
like there's many triggers in our lives. I mean, how often do people they feel whatever, they feel something, and they can't pinpoint, they can't put their finger on what it is that has made them feel that way. I mean, happens to everyone, doesn't it?
It's true. I wouldn't have thought of it, but it's funny that you'd bring that up because just within the past few days, I witnessed something, just from YouTube, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have thought that it could impact your mood so much, but I was watching an interview and I don't like disrespect. It's a pet peeve. I think that we should, again, it's a judgment, but just my belief system is that we should treat each other with love, respect, compassion to the best of our abilities. If I really don't like somebody, I just try to step back and avoid you, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
I can be aggressive, but I don't like that aspect of my personality. So
Mm-hmm.
I watched an interview where I thought the person was being humble that was being interviewed. He was admitting where he made mistakes, stuff like that. And I was very disturbed to see the interviewer, is that what you would call it? She was
Yeah.
very aggressive and disrespectful, like a Mack truck coming at this person. And it was very disturbing for me. I only watched a few minutes of it, thinking that at some point respect was going to enter again, and
Mm-hmm.
I finally just shut it off. But she was going for his jugular during an interview, and I don't like seeing people set up that way. Do you know what I mean? That's
No.
like me having you come on. We're doing each other a favor, but yet I'm going to attack you.
Mm.
That's not civilized behavior.
No. No. I see.
And I was so surprised for an hour or so, it impacted my mood because I remember I finally talked it out. I'm like, I feel really funky. And I think it's because I witnessed this interview. It,
Right. Yeah.
he
Could
was being
be.
mistreated. He was being mistreated.
Yeah, and maybe you have been treated the same way at some point in the past, and then that made you feel that way. So when you witnessed it, maybe it conjured those emotions that you felt in the past. Could that be true, or not, or
It
do you
could,
not think so?
it could be, but I wasn't associating it. I think we've all been disrespected,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't associating it with me. There's certain things that even as a teenager, where I grew up was challenging. But I remember if I saw a fight take place, like
Mm-hmm.
people being very physical, it would make me sick. It would make me
Right.
really sick. Could that be because I grew up in that kind of atmosphere? Maybe. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't understand, like, psychologically, how come I used to like boxing as a child. Like, I
Right.
people with gloves on, and this is what they do for a living. But if there were people in the street fighting, it would make me ill.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I'm not
Yeah.
really sure. But yeah,
Mm.
I maybe the interview, but I don't think so. I think I don't like people being disrespectful. I think it's very uncalled for. Just my own
Yeah.
system. We are all connected. We choose to incarnate and come here. So
Mm.
you and I are connected. We are one. Does it really make sense for me to hurt you?
Yeah. No. 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 It wouldn't.
I don't understand
I
that.
agree. I agree.
So it just, I think that in itself, I don't think it is a direct reflection of me. It could be that I'm not aware of. I just think that it's not something I enjoy watching, one person being a bully, because that's what we're talking about, being a bully to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. No, it's not pleasant at all. I agree. Yeah. So I was just thinking there that I think in all that we've said, it's not 100% the case all the time, because also poor emotion can be triggered by other factors like lack of sleep, poor diet, etc. But in a lot of cases, it's triggered by events. Yeah.
I mean, a breakup, a death, because this time of year, a lot of people are struggling with having lost a loved one. And it's just from like October on, it seems like it's very challenging because I don't know about other people, but I still do like fall, but going into like October and everything like that. But depending on what part of the world that you live in, the world goes dormant, right? Things are dying. It's a natural progression, right?
Yeah.
Things are born in spring. So you're
Mhm.
the earth mimicking that, right? It's our darker time, the longer nights and things like that. And I think for a lot of people that's challenging, just that we have longer nights because most of us get very excited with the longer days of summer, right? Like people
Yeah.
like sunshine, it makes us feel good. So
Mm.
the opposite of that, I think, triggers our emotions, our moods and things like that. I think that's a very natural thing, right?
Yeah.
People are diagnosed with seasonal depression and things like that. So you have
Yeah.
shorter days.
Mhm.
And it definitely impacts me to see dead trees. You know what I mean? There are no leaves or anything beautiful. It helps that I live in Florida. But when I
Yeah.
lived in other parts of the country, that was definitely something that didn't make me feel good.
Yeah.
The colder weather forces you, right? It gets dark earlier. Colder weather, maybe rainy, forces you to be indoors more. I think on a natural level, again, people
Mhm.
are happier outside with the
Mm.
and the animals and the grass under your feet and stuff like that. So it's almost like we're being set up, right? Because historically, didn't people sleep more right before we got all these electronic and the world doesn't shut down? We were supposed to be sleeping more, right?
Right. Okay.
Going to sleep when the sun goes to sleep. You go indoors, but now we're not paying attention to nature.
Mhm.
It could be a little bit easier if we just got back on that rhythm with nature. People do have
Mm.
a tendency to get happier when they're back with nature, just on that cycle. Now, add to that, you may have lost loved ones because I definitely, like, I used to love the month of November because of Thanksgiving, my favorite holiday, and my mother died on November 8th. Last year on Thanksgiving, my best friend died. This year, 2 days before Thanksgiving, I guess I'm not a weepy person crying all the time, but for 2 days I was crying. Anything under the sun could make me cry. Good thing, bad thing. I was just very emotional. And it wasn't until Wednesday night before Thanksgiving I found out my favorite friend's dad died. Like,
Mhm.
I love my father, but when somebody's not blood related to you, sometimes it's an easier relationship. So since childhood, this gentleman we were always very close. I love him very much, but I didn't know he had passed until Wednesday night.
Mhm.
And as soon as I found out, like, I was shocked. As a matter of fact, you and I were in a business meeting when I read it.
Oh, yes, I remember.
And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I can't be reading this. Remember, I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, I kept thinking, I'm not
Yeah.
understanding what I'm reading.
Yeah.
The weird part was after I hung up, I connected with him when I was cooking. I talked to him.
Mhm.
And he told me that, he was with his wife and everything, and he was good. Like, it was just a very pleasant exchange between us. But as soon as, like, all that stuff, that same night, I stopped crying.
Yeah.
No more tears.
Mm.
I've not been crying. I just
Yeah.
felt at peace. So I was energetically, I guess I knew, like, I was in mourning without knowing. As soon as
Right.
I knew that he had passed and I knew he was happy, I was okay.
Oh,
You know what I
wow.
mean? No more tears. And it
Nice.
made me realize that how much I love this man. It
Mhm.
seems very strange that I would be at peace.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I connected with his daughter, my friend, I said to her, I thought I was going crazy because I've been crying for 2 days. And she said, not crazy, spiritual. Like, we hadn't been in touch in many years. And it was just an interesting thing for her to acknowledge that, like, just jump to that conclusion. I was
Mm.
really, like, quite honored.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like it happened in reverse for you. So that's really interesting.
Reverse morning.
Yeah, yeah, the morning before the event, and then and then it was out of your system. So yeah, I know that's it. That's interesting. Just goes to show that time is like a human fabrication, isn't it?
I agree.
You know? Yeah,
I'm
it
hearing
does. Sorry.
I'm hearing an echo.
Oh, are you okay? I don't know. Can you still hear it? Do you mind if I? Do you mind? I feel there's something important that I need to say. Do you mind if I? Because
I want to segue.
sorry.
Now is your time.
Oh, great. I just wanted to get this out because I didn't want it to be like, I didn't want it to be incomplete. But what we've been discussing about, like, trying to create a way in which we can conjure an empowered emotional state, that's a quick fix for, and I mean that when I say that, a quick fix, because if you practice this like 50 times, 100 times, you can like induce an empowered state, right? In whatever situation you're in, you can bring on that empowered emotional state. Okay, but that's all well and good, right? But what we were initially talking about is how to deal with trauma from the past, right? So I would like to maybe just explain a little bit how we can do that. And also we've talked a little bit tonight about like grief and bereavement, and I just have to say that bereavement is a healthy thing. It's a healthy thing that we have to, like, time will take its course. We have to go through it. We have to release those tears. We don't want to like be trying to get euphoric and all happy and jumping around when we should be mourning. Like, would you agree? I mean, when we're mourning, we got to mourn. It's respectful to mourn. It's right to mourn. There's a mourning period, So like there is we got to be discerning in like when it's appropriate to get ourselves like into that empowered emotional state, or when we've got to just ride the wave, so to speak. But anyway, yeah,
your emotions.
yeah, emotionally, yeah.
I agree.
You agree? Okay, but
We were talking about grieving, but talking about seasonal things. Like there's a lot of things that you can help people with.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah. So basically, there's times like seasonal or whatever where people are feeling really, really down in the dumps because of some event in the past or some damage that has been done. It could be damage that was done when they were being raised as a child. It could be an abusive partner. There's like so many things that can damage us, right? And maybe it makes us feel yucky, but also it can affect our self-esteem. It can affect our confidence, very, very disempowering. And how can we overcome this and come out the other end and be well? Okay, well, what we do, and this requires more work than the work that we've just been describing. Okay, but again, you need to sit down and you need to go within, all right? So get into a place where you're like comfortable and free of distraction. And what we need to do is we actually need to revisit, and we actually do need to replay this whole thing in our head that damaged us, right? So for example, we need to use an example for the, in order to explain this. So let's suppose you're with an abusive partner, right? Let's say that your husband, he was like, abusive towards you, used to hit you, used to dominate you, used to make you feel emotionally, really like a piece of shit or whatever, right? Okay, so what we need to do is we need to actually play this in our mind and bring the memory vividly to us, right? We need to do that. And then what we do is we're going to change it, right? Because what you do is we're going to alter the events, and we're going to you see this is what happens like when we visualize things internally, right? We and we're not all visual, by the way, either, because some people are auditory, some people what's that word, Daniela, for feeling? Are
you talking about clairsentient, or what are you?
No, like when you're feeling. Well, I know clairsentient in psychic terms, but in psychological terms, it's like, I forget the word.
I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Oh, that's okay. But yeah, no, I'm not sure. But it doesn't matter. It's any words, right? So what I'm saying is like some of us. Sorry.
I'm trying to figure out what you described,
Okay, yeah. So we have our senses, right? So we've got like sight, hearing, smell, feel, right? But
touch.
also, sorry,
I
touch.
know touch.
Oh yeah, feel, yeah, like yeah, and touch. Okay,
Okay.
but what happens is internally in our brains, in our minds, we also internalize those five senses as well, right? So that we will like see in our minds, or will hear a memory, yeah, and we're all more dominant in one of these more so than the others. So let's say you're visual and you're able to re-see these events that took place. If you're more auditory, you will hear those damaging words very vividly, right? Okay, but what we do is we're able to turn down the color or turn down the volume. We're able to alter things. You can't alter reality in this physical 3D world. You can't like alter it. If you go out there onto the streets and someone's wearing a blue sweatshirt, you can't change the fact that it's a blue sweatshirt. But we do have that privilege in our minds. In our minds, we can change things. Do you see what I mean, Daniela? Yeah. So I can't go out there and like
Yeah.
make things not exist
Right.
or change the way things look, right?
Okay.
But in our minds we can. Now here's another thing about the subconscious mind, is that it cannot, and this is a fact, it cannot differentiate between reality and fantasy, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And this is why when you're dreaming, when you're asleep and you're dreaming, you think that, you wake up in the morning and it takes you a few seconds to come around and realize you just had a dream, because for those couple of seconds when you wake up you think it was real. Whilst you're dreaming you think it's real, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why if you're this happens to me a lot. If I'm having a dream and I'm walking and I trip, like trip on a step, I actually in my bed I jump, because the mind doesn't know that it's a dream. It thinks it's real, right? Which is really really handy and useful for when we're trying to do some work on ourselves. Okay, so what we do is we can alter our memories, right? So anything that's good we can enhance and make bigger, brighter, right? Anything that's negative, we can tone down, make quieter. So if there was a man, say, for example, in your life who was very domineering, very scary, very frightening, made you feel terrified all the time, we can make him shorter than you. Yeah, he can be shorter, he can be more pathetic looking, he could be shivering or whatever, he could be like, do you know what I mean? Like looking very timid. We can change the memory. We're able to do that in our heads.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You couldn't do it out, like, you can't do it in the real world, but you can do it in your imagination.
Right.
And then remember what I said about the brain can't differentiate between reality and fantasy. So it's no good doing it once. It needs to be done over and over. So every time you recall this memory, you have to recall it in that way that you brainwash yourself. It's okay to brainwash yourself. Yeah, people often associate brainwashing as something terribly negative, like you've joined a cult and you've got brainwashed, right? But if we're brainwashing ourselves for good reasons to empower ourselves, then it's a great thing, isn't it?
Yes. If it's empowering, right? I think that's what we're looking at. If it's empowering and healing and helping us to move past our grief, past our fears, phobias, right? Limitations.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's definitely a positive method.
Yeah.
You want to, is there a way to give like an example?
An example of like the example I gave. Yeah,
Right.
sorry.
You're using, but is there a way to do this healing for the people like sorry about that, on a quantum level, like where they would be able to receive this healing when they listen to it?
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, certainly. Okay, so yeah, the best way to do this, and we can do it now if you'd like, is like you need to get you need to get into a state whereby you can vividly recall this, that you can do the work. And the best way to do that is, like I said, get comfortable and then take some deep breaths and get into a meditative state, which Daniela you're really good at that. So maybe you could do a meditation walkthrough. But what happens is when you get, and it might be that when you're trying to do some work on yourself to heal yourself, right, that you need to spend like several sessions practicing getting into a relaxed state. You need to slow down your brainwave frequency so that you're more suggestible, because that's what happens when we get into a meditative state and our brainwave frequency slows down. We become suggestible. Well, we want to become suggestible because we want to take those suggestions that we're making to ourselves. Do you know what I mean? So that's what we want to achieve. So we need to enter that. So you've got to practice meditation. If you don't already, then start meditating for a few minutes. What tips have you got, Daniela, on someone just starting out meditating for the very first time?
Okay, because some people have these belief systems that they can't meditate. So an easy way to do it, I feel, if you really don't think that you can, I think most of us can breathe, right? I'm not saying some people don't have distance and things like that, but most of us can breathe. I know that I don't breathe deeply on a healthy level, but when I meditate, like, I'm more aware of it. I have a tendency, from what people have told me, because it's past trauma, of holding my breath. So I know I'm a shallow breather, but when I'm meditating, the first person, because I in the past believed I couldn't meditate, so the person that taught me how just wanted me to focus on the air going in and out and on my lip. And believe it or not, that's a very simple thing to feel the breath, how it feels. If you think you cannot meditate, and counting helps me too. Like when that just felt like so good right now. Like it just immediately, I think I have my body trained. So just doing that deep breath makes me feel good.
That's a prime example of an anchor, right? You've created that as soon as you, like, when it takes someone like 30 minutes to like enter that meditate, that the effects of meditation, right? But you can get the effects of meditation within 30 seconds because you've done it over and over and over and over again. So your mind is saying, okay, she started breathing like that, I'm going to relax.
It does, man. Like, I don't know if you can see the visual, but I just feel so much more relaxed right now.
Actually, yes, I can see that.
Another weird thing is I have a chair. I can do it other places, but I have a lazy boy chair. And I've noticed all of a sudden, it's not like I tried to do this, but what I've noticed is when I want to meditate, like my intention is to meditate, all it takes, it blows my mind how differently I feel when I'm in my chair and I just shut my eyes. Okay, right now, I'm not in my chair, but that's my intention. And I feel a little bit woozy, like I can feel the energy entering, because I've done this so many times that it just takes me shutting my eyes to go into that state. Is it all the time? No, because if I'm sitting in a car with somebody while they're driving and I shut my eyes and my intention is not to meditate, I'm not going to slow my heart rate down. I'm not going to slow my breathing down. But I notice that just like that, when I'm in my chair, or even right now, because that's my intention, I can just feel everything be still. Like it just quiets it down.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It really is, and it just helps you in every way. But okay, say you're beginning. Practice. That's what she did. I shut my eyes that day and I practiced the way it felt to breathe in and to hold it. Like you could do 4 or 5 breaths. Hold it between 5 and 7. And then release. Just doing that. And it really does change, I think, what they call the biorhythms in your body and everything. Slowly.
I can believe it.
And
yeah, it is incredibly relaxing.
So you could, you could just be present, be in the now, and breathe. If you don't want to call it meditation, but if you start doing that, count in 4 or 5, hold it 5 seconds, 7 seconds. I always do things for what feels good to me. Somebody can
Mhm.
teach you something, but if it feels better for you to do it a little bit differently, do what feels right for you, because then you'll stick to something if it feels natural. So
Mm.
I would start with breathing like that, just 5, 10, 15 minutes. Didn't I tell you to start your days that way? And
You did.
you noticed how things have changed for you. You're starting to sleep better.
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely, it's all positive. Like, you can never have a negative experience by sitting down and relaxing, can you?
And
You
it's
know.
you being alone with yourself, your own thoughts, without connecting to the outside world. It's that
Mhm.
simple. So once you get into that state, then you take
Mm.
out what Amy was describing. Um, it's really amazing that you were able to help me that day, because I was alone in a car in the sunshine, but that
Mhm.
you get me in that state of calming down, where just by pressing this, I replayed it like he said. You take the scenario of what's traumatized you, you make
Mm.
it softer, the lighting
Mm.
softer.
And I think I remember I was saying to you to make it into a cartoon, like a silly cartoon. Yeah,
Mhm.
because this was an upsetting memory, and we made it into a comedy cartoon type thing.
And
Yeah.
when I the other figure, I turned him into a child.
Right. Right.
That's not going to be threatening and intimidating. And it was
Mm.
something that had just happened, I think, the day before, but it triggered past trauma.
Mm.
When I
Mm.
turned it that way with doing, pinching,
Mhm.
it and I kept playing it over, the voice was different, I grew taller and all that kind of stuff. And this was
Mhm.
just something I witnessed, wasn't even directly connected to it.
Mm.
Um, but it really impacted me because I felt powerless. That's
Mm.
what it was. I felt powerless to protect somebody I loved.
Mm.
So that
Yeah.
was really traumatic.
Mm.
Um, but just replaying a new movie, you're creating a new movie. The sounds are softer. I'm taller, they're shorter. You know what I mean? It just changed
Mm.
the parameters of the
Yeah.
actual setting into.
And most important, you're the victor. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I personally didn't wanna turn into a bully. Like, I didn't wanna be bowering over this person, so I made it into a child where I would try to reason with them, because
Right.
for me, that felt more natural. But for me to turn into the overbearing bully, like, "You don't talk," that didn't
Yeah.
feel right to me, because
Yeah. That puts you on their level. Yeah.
it just didn't feel right. So, but to talk to a child like, "This is proper behavior," that felt right to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
It has to be
Yeah.
authentic to you, too.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because there really isn't very much difference between a daydream and a night dream, except a daydream is always lucid because you can make the events happen. Like, I know you have a lot of lucid dreams at night. I don't. My dreams just happen random when
Mhm.
I'm asleep at night. But it's great in the day when we're daydreaming, that we can control the story,
We can.
you know. And yeah.
So I I think that we've given them a choice, something to think about. Maybe we
Mhm.
could do another one following up. Like, even I don't know if you might in the future want to do it where you walk me through it, where people could watch and then they would just copy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, sure, absolutely. We could
I
we could
think
do that.
very good to do that, because this way, because there are a lot of times like I'll view something or I'll get a heads up for something, and I'm actually able to create something
Yeah.
powerful just
Mm.
by doing or listening, having an idea. So I think if you do it with me, they will be able to do it in their own lives, because I want them to have something practical to help them get through this time of year.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, definitely makes sense, and I would be honored to do that. So
Okay.
thank you.
And I'm telling you, if you guys practice what he's going to do with us, it is just phenomenal. I mean, at this point, is there a place for them to go to learn more about you, or is that something we want to do in the future? If they want to reach out to you for this type of healing.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Well, you can join me on Facebook. I'm actually at the moment I'm doing some training and I'm making a website, so I don't have anywhere to send you just yet. But I am on Facebook, so you can do that.
Okay, because I know that you've recently helped others as well. Remember, you were offering your services on Facebook and stuff like that. So can you
Oh
share
yeah, sure.
how to like find you on Facebook or whatever you're comfortable with sharing with them if they would like to work with you?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, we could like put the description. We could put the link in the description.
Okay.
I have like a few Facebook pages, so I've got got my aliens one. I've got because that's another interest. What's the name of my Facebook? What's the name of it? Do you know the name of it?
I think it's Jamie. I think it's just under your name, Jamie's.
Yeah, Jamie Smale. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But we'll put the link there. We'll put and thank you. Yeah, we'll
Well,
put the link
I
there.
think it would be incredibly beneficial for them, you know?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. Okay. And what we'll do is when I have my web page, we'll go and edit this video and put the link in the description so that it'll be there.
I think with each person that is helped, it makes the world a better place. If one person becomes happier, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
So I think all the healers that are waking up and taking their power and taking their rightful place,
Yeah.
you're doing. You're taking your rightful place. You're a healer.
That's true. That's true. And do you know what? I feel this really on my heart that I would really like to share this. You know, like when we realize how malleable we are and how we can mold ourselves and do inward work because of the workings of the brain, right? When we come to that realization, then there really is no limit, because I've used like these principles on healing like physical problems too, like even something like a headache.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And
Do
yeah,
you
sorry, go ahead.
also have other? I mean, unless I don't understand, but you've helped me physically. Um,
Okay.
is that a little bit something different that you do as a healer?
Oh yeah, well actually I suppose, because like this is where we like go into the realms of the metaphysical, which is really interesting because and this I think has been inspired by the work of the likes of like Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden and different people, renowned people that talk about this. But like thoughts are things, as they say. I'm just kind of trying to explain this, but like sorry.
Thoughts, energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Energy. You know, I believe that words are like void of energy unless there is intention and emotion that travel with them. Because, I was thinking about this recently. I know this is a little off topic, but I was thinking about this recently about like all the words that we speak from our mouths, right? And like it goes out into the universe, right? And people put a lot of emphasis on what you put out to the universe, it will come back to you, like the law of attraction and things. Sorry, I move over to the camera. There we go. Yeah, so what we put out there to the universe, but like the words we speak they're meaningless unless we believe them, because when we believe them and we have intention and we like really mean it, then it's the thoughts that are traveling. That's what's going out into the universe, not the audible like noise that comes out of our mouths, but it's what is really behind it that is going out to the universe, and that is what activates the law of attraction, for good or for bad, right? That's what I believe. So anyway, let's say that let's say that you were wanting healing, right? Because you do long distance healing, and I've had some success with long distance healing too, right? And the way that I do it is by intending just a simple, you know what, like people can make it complicated and give it really complicated labels and maybe do a 3-year course and get a diploma. But you know what it really boils down to is like, you know, belief and intention and the vividness through practice of your visualization. Yeah. So like if you can see, you know, it's like there's an old saying that if you can see it, you can achieve it. Yeah.
Right.
Like, yeah, like
if you could see it, you can achieve it. But if you can't, then you can't.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, like if I'm doing healing work on someone, right, I don't just say the words, oh yeah, you know what, I think you're going to be healed, right? But I have to like actually see that healing taking place. I have to see the energy, and I have to see their problem, and I have to see their problem vanish. And unless I can see it and believe that I see it, then you know it's useless. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know if I'm right. I just saying what I think.
That's what I was gonna, you know, that's your perspective, that's your belief, right? We could only share. We're not trying to convince anyone of anything. This is just our perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
People have to be their own guru, right? We have to use our discernment and what feels like truth to them.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think that there are invisible forces that emanate from us and to us, you know, and like we are all interconnected, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So
But
like there's energy everywhere.
agreed. But I mean, this also involves personal responsibility because somebody wants to not take personal responsibility, even the healing, they could accept or deflect it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Feel good. And people might really bite me on this one. Like, what are you saying? Because I used to get upset. You can choose to heal, you can choose to feel better, or you could choose to stay in misery. You know,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
through thoughts. Now, the one thing I want to come back before we wrap it up, I also feel like emotions are a language. And it comes from the heart. We're supposed to live out of the heart, out of our solar plexus, and emotions are a true communication, because I can tell you with my lips, I don't like you, but I could be lying and you can feel from my heart that I love you.
Oh yeah, right.
Feel that love, or vice versa. I could say I love someone and I don't like them. You know, people are not authentic. Some people are not authentic. And, or you could say, oh, I'm so happy about that situation. No, you're not. Do you know what I mean? In your heart, you're not feeling happiness. So that is a true, authentic language, true communication. Maybe that's what I should be saying.
Oh yeah.
The true communication. And what I find, words are misleading. And I used to think I was a very good communicator. And what I'm noticing is words can get in the way.
Oh yeah, totally. I agree. And just to add confirmation to what you're saying, like it's proven that words only account for 7% of your overall communication. You know, 7%, that's tiny, you know.
Oh, I never heard that, but that's really cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All the psychologists, like it's a done deal. Like it's what's in the textbooks. You know, that communication is 7%.
Language and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so you got 7% is the words that come out your mouth. That's 7%. And then the next thing is tone. Tone adds to the communication. But even greater than that is your body language. Body language is like, I can't remember what it is, but it's like 80%.
I would think it's high, because you feel warm towards somebody. It doesn't matter what's coming out of your mouth. But they say if a woman, I'm trying to get on screen, if a woman touches a man's arm, that's huge. That's a huge signal that a woman is into you. If she touches like a man's body, she goes out of her way to touch him while she's speaking.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I wondered why all the women were touching my arm. No, I'm just joking.
All right. We've been on for almost an hour. Thank you.
Yeah.
for your time. I greatly appreciate it. I
Oh,
think
I've enjoyed it.
it from this. And as usual, it's always a great time connecting with you. So thank you very much.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you for having me.
And can you properly, with your British accent, say your name?
Oh yes, okay. It's Jamie Smale.
Okay, so we're gonna put your link like to Facebook or something so people can find you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll put that in. Yeah. Um, yeah, or if I think of any other links, because just by Dubai, I'm an internet marketer and I've got like clients and I do SEO and everything, and like so I work on everyone else's stuff and I don't even have anything of my own. It's always the way, everyone, like painters and decorators, they don't paint their own house, cleaners don't clean their own house, so that's the way it is.
So it's true. It really is true. But I really,
Mm.
the year that I've known you, I honestly, what I feel moving forward with you is going to be this healing stuff. Like this is going to be the road, I believe, for your future.
Oh wow, well that'd be great. Thank you.
I believe we're created with these gifts. We all have our own personal gifts. Everybody. I don't believe
Mhm.
there's a person out there that you came into this world without your dharma. And to me, you seem very much a healer. You're a very giving, loving, compassionate person. So it
Oh,
makes sense that you'd be a healer.
well, thank you. That's very kind. I appreciate your kind words. Thanks.
Well, my pleasure. And thank you very much for joining me today.
Oh yeah, thank you.
And everyone out there that's going to watch this in the future, much love to you. And I hope that this helps you. Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye.